This is Raythe from Raythe Reign. I'm an author of serialized gay romance fiction. Every week on this podcast, I'll be reading a chapter from one of my gay fantasy shifter serials called Caden Reign. I'll explain at the break how you can find out more about this story and others I write. So let's get to it. Chapter 114, The Spirit Realm. The sky was indigo, deepening to a dark purple, and finally a velvety black at the edge of the horizon. The stars glittered like diamonds, and the moon was a silvery white. Caden had never seen a sky so beautiful. It was a sky that would launch dreams. It was a sky that made promises of possibilities. It was a sky that made the heart ache even as the lips smiled. It was not a natural sky. Where am I? Caden wondered. His mind was muzzy and strangely blank. Not only did he not know where he was, but he had no idea how he had gotten there, or even what he had been doing just before this. His forehead furrowed. I must really be far from any city to see so many stars, he thought. He felt so very strange, disconnected from his body. When he looked down, he was surprised to see he was clothed. Black turtleneck tucked into black jeans and black boots. He couldn't imagine coming to this place on anything but dragon's wings, so why was he dressed? Surely he would recall a long plane ride. And he wouldn't have come here by himself in any case. Valerius would have come with him. But did the Black Dragon King even fly on planes? He had never heard of Valerius doing so. But then again, everyone came to him, not the other way around. So Valerius did not travel much unless he flew. And when he flew, he went to distant, lonely places, much like this, Caden believed. He was leaning against a single tree on a rise at the edge of a forest. The tree's bark was silvery. It almost looked metallic. He brushed his fingers over it and wasn't surprised when his fingers shimmered too. Caden frowned deeply as he rubbed his fingers together, and the shiny substance moved over his skin. These trees were not like anything he had ever seen before. But he'd not been everywhere on Earth, so maybe... Oh, Leo, where are we? Caden asked, but the white dragon spirit didn't answer. Oh, Leo? Nothing. There was almost a pregnant feeling to the silence, as if it were not empty, but filled up with something. Oh, Leo, are you sleeping? Caden's mind voice sounded thin and reedy. I really need you to wake up here. Caden did not see Iolaire curled up in his chest, snout tucked under its tail with Raziel spooned around it. His shoulders twitched. Something was very wrong here. But the beauty of the place plucked at him, trying to soothe him, trying to distract him from these disturbing feelings. Surely Iolaire was with him. Iolaire would always be with him. Now if he could just figure out where he was, he would figure it out. All would be well. Now, what had he been thinking about? The dark leaves above him rustled as a warm breeze rushed through them. Caden's eyelids half closed as a sweetly scented breeze passed him by. I wish Valerius was here to see this with me, Caden thought. I'll just call him. He'll come here. And Caden did call him, but like with Iolaire, there was no response. The sound in his head was muffled as if his skull was filled with cotton. Caden swallowed suddenly acrid bile. He fully opened his eyes. Valerius? Iolaire? Raziel? He said each name with as much clarity and force as he could, but it was as if he were speaking through layers upon layers of cotton. He didn't think his call was getting out to any of them. He was alone in his head, cut off from Iolaire and Valerius and Raziel. His heart began to hammer in his chest. Cold sweat broke out on his upper lip and forehead. That sick, metallic taste of adrenaline filled his mouth. Fear. 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 He was alone. How could he be alone? No Iolaire twittered. No Valerius interrogating him as to what was wrong. No sound other than the whisper of the breeze all around him. This was impossible. He and Iolaire were bonded. Iolaire and Raziel were mates. He and Valerius were... Well, when they made love, a goddamn helix appeared in the sky. The world started to spin as the blood rushed from his head. He clutched at the tree and rested his forehead against the shimmering bark. He shut his eyes tightly and counted to 10. He had to get a hold of himself. If he truly was alone, he had to figure this out, and panicking never helped anyone or anything. The world stopped spinning. His breathing evened out. His heart stopped beating so loud that he couldn't hear anything else. He slowly opened his eyes and drew back to look around him. He needed clues as to where he was and what had happened to get him here. The scene had not changed. It was still a peaceful forest with the impossibly beautiful sky above it. This isn't a sky on Earth. Nowhere does this exist, Caden thought, which had another rush of adrenaline coursing through him as his body rebelled at the thought of being in such an unfamiliar place. If I'm not on Earth, that's a real problem, but I got here somehow. He couldn't have just appeared in this spot. Maybe he had walked here from a house? Could such a place have something so normal as a house? No, maybe a castle made of spun glass or a palace of palest marble. His eyes scanned the forest, but there were no towers that poked through the green canopy. There were just unending miles of trees and nothing else. Slowly he turned in a circle. The forest's edge was visible curving around him until he was looking directly behind him. His mouth dropped open and immediately went dry as the desert. There was a crater. That was the best way he could describe it, a crater where all life had been blasted away. It went down hundreds of feet. The earth itself looked scarred. There were no trees, no flowers, no vegetation at all from the edge of the crater to the center. This lonely tree was the only one that he could see separated from the forest. I know this place. Caden realized as a memory burst fully into his head. This is where the dragons fought the behemoth the first time. But that can't be possible. I can't be here, for that place is in the spirit realm. More cold sweat coursed down Caden's temples from his hairline. He spun in a circle again, still looking for signs of civilization, looking for Reach, the mid, the tunnels, being carried away. The behemoth! Iolaire and I were captured and... What happened after that? Think! He commanded himself, and his mind answered his command as best it could. I passed out. The behemoth was threatening right before that to enslave Iolaire again. Caden? Landry's voice was uncertain. His head snapped towards where her voice was coming from. She was just down the rise of the tree line to the forest, peering out from behind one of the silvery trunks. Her face was mostly in shadow. It looked like a white blob with raisins where the eyes, nose, and mouth should be. There was no nightshine in her eyes. It would have shown up in this half-light. Anger, though, boiled up in Caden. His affection for Landry had led him to take chances he shouldn't have back at her house. It had distracted him from thinking that maybe, instead of him chasing her, she had been leading him to the other possessed humans. He had been cocky to think he couldn't be hurt by another shifter. His hands balled into fists. Caden, is that you? God, it is! Landry's voice broke. Guys, it's Caden! She stepped out fully from behind the tree, but other hands reached to try and draw her back. They clamped on her shoulders, and she was practically lifted off her feet. No, it's got to be a trap, Ross cried. It can't be him, Landry, Harvey added. He's the damned white dragon shifter. What would he be doing here? Jasper Hawes' voice came from deeper into the woods. Unlike the human's first leader's normal, warm, confident tones, he sounded deeply depressed, as if he'd finally lost all hope. No, it is. I know it is. Besides, what do we have to lose, even if it isn't? Landry cried. She shrugged off her brother's restraining hands and raced up the rise towards Caden. She had on clothes one would expect for being in the mountains. Jeans, fur-lined boots, a white parka, and mittens. She stopped a few feet from him, a little breathless. Her cheeks were red from the effort as well. She pushed her two long bangs out of her eyes. Caden? She repeated his name again with both more and less certainty than before. I'm not falling for this behemoth, Caden growled, eyes narrowing. Landry blinked at him. What are you? You did this once before, and I fell for it. Caden advanced upon her. What have you done to Iolaire? Where are we? What? Caden, I didn't do anything. We're trapped here and... Wait, let me explain. Landry cowered from him, raising her arms to block blows she thought were coming. Caden froze. Something was different about this Landry. There was none of that terrible smell. And her voice held real emotion, not falsified ones. Why would the behemoth take on Landry's form in the spirit realm? Why not be itself? Caden wondered. But then he firmed his resolve again. I need to just act. Stop overthinking this. Don't let it get the upper hand again. He grabbed her shoulders. Tell me what you've done, or I swear I'll turn you into an ice statue through and through. He wasn't sure if he could do that. He felt very disengaged from the powers that normally filled him. The power was like a vortex inside of him usually, but he did not feel it at all, or more like he felt separated from it. Caden, please, Landry begged, not fighting him at all, but trying to protect herself. Hey, stop! That's our sister. Leave her alone, Caden, Ross and Harvey yelled at the two of them hustling up the rise. Stay back, Caden yelled. I know what you are too. He's crazy, Ross said. Get away from Landry, Harvey demanded. But they had slowed down and looked afraid of him. Yes, afraid. The behemoth had only been able to pretend to be afraid. It hadn't been this convincing. It's okay, Landry said to her brothers. Don't fight, guys. That's what it wants. Just let's all calm down. Ross and Harvey exchanged looks between themselves and their sister. They crossed their arms over their thick chests and glared at Caden, but they kept their distance, and their glares looked fragile, like they could shatter at any moment. They're scared and exhausted, Caden realized. The behemoth doesn't experience tiredness or fear. Not like this. It couldn't pretend what it doesn't know. There was more movement out of the corner of his eye. He glanced down towards the tree line. Jasper Hawes stood there, glowering up at him. There were other people, too. People Caden vaguely recognized as those that had come out of the wall in the below. The great white dragon king is going to beat up a girl. How noble, Jasper sneered. How goddamn heroic. But whatever Jasper might think of him, the others down there looked up with mild hope as if he might save them. You're trapped here, Caden realized. We woke up here and we can't figure out how to get home, Caden, Landry told him. Caden really looked at Landry then. No eye shine, too long bangs, slightly exasperated expression. It was her. It was really her. He changed his grip into a hug. It's you, he gasped. Yeah, it's me, you idiot. She gave out a choked laugh and wrapped her arms around him. Who else would it be? Caden's mouth opened and shut. This was the real Landry. Did you know that you can get some of my gay romance books for free? Every month, I have at least one book free to download right from Amazon, so you can easily read it on any device. But these books can only be free for 5 days at a time. If you don't want to miss out, just sign up for my mailing list, and I'll send you an email whenever there's a free book available. The link to the sign-up form is in the description down below. The real Ross and Harvey, hell, it was even the real Jasper Hawes. These were the souls of the people that the behemoth had taken the bodies from. But that meant we're in the spirit realm. Our bodies are back on Earth. The behemoth has control of their bodies. Does it have control of mine? Caden wondered, and a chill went through him. Oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. I knew you'd come save us, she babbled against his neck. I was so certain that if anyone could figure this out, it would be you, Caden. Caden gently pulled back to see Landry's face. There were tear tracks on her cheeks, and she was smiling up at him so hopefully. He didn't want to tell her the truth, that this wasn't a rescue mission, but instead he might be trapped too. Landry, he grimaced. Caden, God, things have been so insane. How long have we been gone? Landry continued. The light never changes, always twilight, or is it daybreak? No idea. And Landry, I have so much to tell you, and these idiots are going to tell everything too. Landry turned her head to glare at her brothers and Jasper behind them. I know who is behind all of this. The behemoth, Caden interrupted. You said that name before, but I'm talking about a hydra. Yes, that's its name, Caden said. It's a spirit that can bind other spirits to it. Dragon spirits. Could that be what happened to Iolaire? Caden thought with a shudder. Is that why I'm here too, trapped, while the behemoth uses my body? Yeah, I guess that name totally fits. I mean, it's got all these heads that spit acid, fire, poison gas, and everything. She gave herself a terrier-like shake. It's terrible. So terrible. That was exactly how he would describe it. Terrible. Like, you just look at it and know it's bad news. Landry let out a bitter laugh. But, of course, that means my brothers are all in. Landry, Ross whined. No, don't. We're only in this mess because of you two lugheads. All this humans first crap, when all along Jasper just wanted to be a shifter, to be on top. Landry shouted at them both with disgust. Both of you, too. Even though her eyes were covered by her bangs, Caden could feel her scowl. All of it's been a crock. Humans first, indeed. Both brothers dropped their heads in shame. Landry turned her head back towards Caden. It gets better, or worse. The hypocrisy is so freaking hilarious. So Jasper here, she tilted her head towards the scowling, gloomy leader of Humans First. Some weirdo faith people came to Jasper, and they tell him about the behemoth. So Humans First and the faith are in on it together. All of Jasper's principles, it's all fake. She made air quotes around principles. Do you know who he met with? Caden asked, becoming interested in spite of himself and their current predicament. If they could get back, no, we will get back, then this information would be invaluable. I don't know their names, but Jasper keeps records, Landry said with a dismissive tilt of her head. He's the type to write everything down, and I know where those records are. Traitor, Jasper hissed. Landry's head snapped around towards him. What? What was that? Jasper, I hate shifters but want to be one. Hawes? You want to say something about me and my loyalties? Jasper grimaced and looked away. Caden noted that none of the people here, and some of them must have been members of Humans First, other than Ross and Harvey, stuck up for him. In fact, there were many who glared at Jasper. I think you've stuck him in the soft parts, Landry, Caden remarked. Oh, I'd like to do more than that. She remained glaring at Jasper. Finally, she turned back to him again. Of course, the biggest irony is that his big deal didn't work. We went to this wall in a mountain and we were supposed to be turned into shifters, but we just ended up here. Landry was frowning as if that wasn't everything that happened. He remembered her face as she was pulled into the wall, her screaming face, her reaching arms. He was glad that she didn't remember it. Well, that's not exactly true, Caden said now that she was quiet for a moment. But what do you mean? She frowned more deeply. Yeah, what do you mean? Ross asked, jutting his chin forward. We're not shifters, we're just here. He spread his arms to gesture to this place, in the stupid forest, with nothing to eat and the monsters. Monsters? Caden interrupted. Yeah, there are things here, like every shifter type ever, Ross said with another gesture. Caden blinked as he realized what they were actually seeing, which was the spirits. The spirits that bonded with humans. To Landry, Ross, and Harvey, and everyone here, they must look like the animals that humans shifted into, like sphinxes, dragons, werewolves, and more. Of course there would be. They would all be here, and where is here, Caden? Landry asked. Oh, hell, I don't care. Just get us home. Caden drew in a sharp breath between his teeth. This was the moment where he would take her hopes away. I'm not here on a rescue mission, Landry. I wish I was, but I'm not sure how I got here at all. Did they take me through a wall? Am I sticking out of it like a statue? Or am I walking around looking for Valerius? Oh God, no. Panic wanted to settle over him again in a heavy blanket of despair. He scrubbed his face with his hands. There had to be a way out of this. There had to be. He couldn't give up or let himself be overwhelmed. Landry's expression fell. You didn't come here on purpose? I was chasing you, your body, Caden explained, going through his memories for himself as much as for her. The behemoth has possessed all of you. So you are shifters, well, your bodies are the behemoths to control. Looks like it went around the middleman and just occupies them. Landry's head slowly nodded, as if this made sense to her, though her expression was getting grimmer and grimmer. Caden continued, I trapped your body in an ice cocoon. Ice cocoon? Landry's eyes went huge. Is my body okay? You better not have frozen something off. I didn't, but your body is pretty immune to most things when the behemoth is occupying it, Caden said, though he grimaced at the memory of being beaten up pretty well. Anyways, I'm not sure if it was a trap or bad timing, but I was captured and I don't actually remember anything after that until I found myself here. Jasper Hawes let out a sharp, mirthless laugh. See? He can't help us. He's as stuck here as us. Shut up! Landry shouted at him. You're responsible for this! Your jealousy and desire for power brought us here! Jasper shook his head. I'm not listening to any more of this shit. He then stalked off into the woods. No one went after him. So, what was I doing that you were chasing me? Landry asked, searching his face. That doesn't matter, Landry. It does, Caden. What was I doing? Landry's voice was high and tight. You, Ross, and Harvey took your parents hostage, Caden explained, to draw me and Valerius to you. Our folks? Harvey cried. Are they okay? Yes, I think so. They were unconscious last I saw them, but I think we stopped the behemoth in time, Caden said. He really hoped that was true. Oh my God. Landry covered her mouth with one hand and nearly sank down to her knees. Caden caught her and kept her upright. We were so stupid. Why did I ever think? Something occurred to Caden then. Landry, why did you go with them to the mountain? You should have escaped. I mean, if you could. I probably could have, but Her lips flattened for a moment. I wanted to be a shifter, too. Then we could be shifters together. You, me, Wally, and Rose. Oh, Landry. Don't, Caden. Don't make it sound so stupid. I know I'm not special. Landry shook her head and tried to turn away from him. How else was I going to become a shifter unless I did this? No spirit would choose me. Caden drew in a breath. I don't think it's stupid. You are special, and spirits choose people. I don't know the answer to that, but I wouldn't count you out on becoming a shifter. But even if it never happens, that doesn't mean you aren't a wonderful person. I don't want to be a wonderful person, Caden. You don't understand. Yeah, I actually do, because I was just like you not that long ago, Caden told her. And I can tell you that I don't know if it makes me special so much as lucky. I get why you want this. I get it. But some of us have to be human, right? Yeah. Her voice dropped off. There was a roar that shattered the air. Caden's head immediately snapped towards the sky, but he didn't see what he thought should be there. Oh, fuck. It's back. Ross slapped his brother's chest as he started to stagger back to the forest. We gotta get out of sight. Caden, we have to go. Landry grabbed his arm and tried to drag him towards the forest. Wait. Caden kept glancing around the sky as the roar was repeated. It sounded muffled, as if it was coming through stone. That's got to be... It's a dragon, Caden. There are dragons here, and... Yeah, I know! Caden grinned as he realized where the lair had always been. That's Raziel! Raziel is here! I hope you're enjoying Dragon's Reign so far. Dragon's Reign is free for you to enjoy, but not free for us to make. There is a whole team working with me for audio editing, artwork, graphic design, and custom music. Most YouTube channels and podcasts have sponsors and take ads, but because of the kind of content we make, we can't run ads or get sponsors. Instead, we have other ways you can support me and the team behind this gay romance audiobook. One easy way is to buy or borrow my books from Amazon. They are all gay romance set in alternative worlds with vampires or shifters and other magical beings. You may not know that even if you borrow books with your Kindle Unlimited subscription at Amazon, they are free for you, but they still earn us money. The books are published under the name Ex Aratare, which actually means Raythe in Romanian. And if you love audiobooks, you can get professionally narrated versions of every one of my books on audible.com. The link to my author page is in the description below, as well as to the first book of the series I think you'll really like. Thank you so much for your support. People like you enable me and the team to keep writing these stories of gay romance, magic, monsters, and true love, and producing this very fun podcast for everyone. Thank you.